I will share all of what I learned to do with round brushes to create some of our favorite flowers and leaves. Okay, so let's get overhead. Let's get going on these demonstrations. I'm going to switch here to the overhead camera. Oops, sorry, bumped it. And we'll get this twisted here. There we go. Okay, so the first demonstration I want to share with you is on using the round brush to create simple petals like a daisy petal, right? We know in one stroke painting, some of our most simple strokes are using that daisy stroke for different means. And so I want to show you how you can get that same look with a much more rounded end too. Sometimes some people who work with flat brushes a lot, and I know a good friend of mine who does, she can get just as good a round end as I can with a round brush. But I just want to show you that you can get this rounded look very quickly and easily. And I want you to see some of these little pointed ends. Those are kind of fun to create and give your painting just a little bit different look. Kind of a little bit like rose malling, maybe. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do these all on black paper. And I've got all my paint put out because I've got a bunch of different colors to work with as I'm doing these different projects. So look at all that. That's like a rainbow, isn't it? Okay, so starting first with this daisy, we're going to be working with some blue peacock and some, I had originally used patina, but my patina was a little thick. So I pulled out Ocean View, which is very, very close in color. So this is blue peacock and patina, and I'm using a number 8 round from Donna's signature collection. Okay, and if you don't have the signature collection, you can also get a number 8 round in her set of rounds from Plaid. Okay, all right, so I'm going to get this wet. And the thing is with round brush painting is you want the brush to be a little more wet than you would. Yeah, I do need a bigger palette, don't I? You want the brush to be a little more wet than you would with a flat brush. So I'm not gonna let the water run off on my paper towel. I'm gonna leave the water in my brush just from the one dip that got it damp, okay? Then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna load with my round brush for both sides. So just like a flat brush, you're gonna pull from that outer edge of the puddle, flip the brush over and pull. Now this happens to kind of flatten out your brush. So what I like to do once I get plenty of paint, you need a lot of paint in here, so keep working that in, rolling the brush as you do so it gets all in there nice and full. Then I take and just roll that tip to reshape it into a round shape, okay? And then every time I need fresh paint, I'm going to come pull from there. Now, to get that lighter color streaks on top of the color that I have as my base dark color, I'm going to dip the tip into this lighter blue shade, okay? And it's going to pick it up right there on the tip like that. All right, so I'm going to come down here and we're going to stroke this stroke. Now, let me come down with my camera a little bit closer. There we go. And I'm going to show you. So I'm going to start from the back of the brush. I'm going to touch the tip down, back of the brush, back of the flower. I'm going to touch the tip down, lay it down with pressure. All right, so it rounds out. And then I'm pulling towards the center as I do. I lift and I give a slight twist with my fingers as I stand up. That'll give me a nice tip on there, okay? Now that one had a lot of that light blue. I want a little less than that, so that's a good gauge to see. And so I'm going to tip into not quite so much this next time, okay? Then I'm going to come next to this petal and lay it down, pull, twist as I do, and stand up, okay? More paint. Every time I go back to the palette, I get the dark color first and then the light color, okay? So then I'm going to come around here, push and twist, more color, dip into the light. Now I'm going to come over here and do the other side. So push and twist, dark, dip into the light, push and twist. So that's gotten that upper half of the flower. Now I want to start coming around with a little bit shorter petals, so it gives it a little bit of a tipped look here, and twist. But see, I'm getting those naturally occurring streaks because I dipped into that second color, okay? Here, push and twist. Okay. So having that color dipped on the tip is what's creating those lighter tips on my petals, just like that. Push and twist. Okay, now I've got a little bit of a gap right over there. That's not a problem. I'm going to come right in here and I'm going to add just one right in there. There we go. Okay, so that completes my flower. Now I'm going to wipe off this brush. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and clean it because I want it damp. All right, so I cleaned the brush, and then again, I didn't put it onto the paper towel. I'm going to come over here now and get my leaf colors. So noticing my leaves, they're a light color with a dark tip, but this was on white paper. So I'm going to reverse that, and I'm going to load the dark color, just like I did with the blue. All right, so this is sap green. And then I'm going to tip into the citrus. Okay. All right, so now coming from the outside, I've got a lot of black pages right here and they're all getting, there we go. All right, so coming from the outside, right over here, I'm going to touch the tip down and pull it without pushing, and then I'm going to push and twist as I come in and stand it up. Now, this is a little runnier than I care for it to be, so I'm going to just lay that brush on the paper towel, come get fresh sap, tip into the citrus, and I'm going to add a second leaf out here. So I'm touching, pulling it down, then pushing, and standing up. Okay, I'm going to come from this direction. So I'm giving them a little bit of a tip on the end and then push and stand up. Okay, so that's not too difficult. It's really about loading it with a single color and then adding another color onto the tip. Push and stand up. Okay, now to finish this flower, I'm going to go ahead and put that in the water. I'm going to take my small scruffy, and I've got some burnt umber and some moon yellow. So I'm going to go half and half burnt umber and moon yellow. Okay. And I'm going to come pounce right in here. Now there's a lot of blue in here, so I'm going to get kind of a green color because of that. That's okay. I think when I did my demo piece, I think I let it dry before, but it didn't dry yet. So good idea to let it dry, but I can come back in here now with that yellow, and now you'll see it. So I got brown in the center. So just like you'd pounce the center on sunflower. Here we go. Okay. Easy peasy, that's right. All right, so let me go ahead and clean that out. So that's a basic daisy with a round brush, okay? So those are not difficult strokes. You just want to practice working that slide and lift to get that look that goes from really wide and round to skinny and pointed in the center. Okay. All right, so that's that flower. Now let's look at, and I just want, oh, let me just tell you real quick too on this one. This is berry wine and moon yellow. Okay, if you wanted to do that for yourself. All right, so let's move on to our lily, or water lily. Okay, so the water lily looks like this. You can use lots of different colors, but I just chose the basic white and yellow. So we've got daffodil yellow in here and then some orange stamens in the center. And these are smaller round brush strokes. So and all you're doing is not so much pressure. Okay. So this, we're going to load the brush with white and tip into the daffodil yellow. So I've got, oops, I need to dip that in water first. And remember, with a round brush, you want some of that water left in the brush, so you don't want it really sloppy wet, but you want it wetter than a flat. Okay, so loading it with white, pushing and getting that into the bristles, not just on the outside, then giving a little bit of a twist to get the point back. Then I'm going to tip into the yellow, the daffodil yellow, and that's the process. Okay, so I've got this one kind of sketched out because this, yes, this is a number 8 round. This is a symmetrical flower, and so I didn't want to have it looking lopsided. All right, so I'm going to come, just like I did with my leaves, I'm going to come and touch the tip here, let it come down a little bit, then lay it down, push, and twist coming into the center. Okay, more white, tip into yellow. And from here, we're going to touch, drag it along, lay it down, push and twist, leaving a gap between those petals. You can see I got a little dry there, so I might want to grab just a tiny bit of water on the tip of my brush and then work that in with the white and then tip into the yellow. The good thing is most of the yellow comes off every time you do a stroke, so you're not going to turn your white yellow tint too much every time you reload. Okay, so you see I'm getting that little point at the end, and then I lay my brush down, get fresh paint, and we're going to come in here and do another. So these out here, let me show you. I'm going to come this way, push down, give it a little bit of a curve, and then come in this way into the center. So I curve to the right and then back to the left. And I'll do a similar stroke opposite side over here. So lay that down, push, and give it a little bit of a curve coming in there. So you're creating that kind of bowl in the middle of the flower. Okay, get a little more yellow. These are laid way out. Push and stand up. Okay, and then over here, lay it down, push, and I'm twisting with my fingers so I get a nice point at the end. Okay, so see how that's created kind of a flat bowl inside there? All right, now we're going to come and get more of that same color. We're going to do these petals that lay over. So I'm going to touch here and push it down hard and then stand it up quickly, pull it in to the center. All right, these are shorter in the front because they're laying down towards you. All right, so mirror that one over here, touch and slide it along, then push, twist, and stand up. So you see how that looks like it's laying over? That's by pushing hard and standing up quickly. All right, here, touch, pull it along, push, stand up. Just keep picking up those same colors. And here, pull it along, push, stand up, twisting. And then we'll do one in the front. Now, I don't like them to be straight in the front, so I'm going to choose to have it kind of tipped a little bit to the left side of the flower. There we go. Okay. Now, what I want to do at this point is I want just white for the rest of my petals. So I'm going to wipe off all this paint on my paper towel. And then I'm going to come and get all white. So let me back up. So I'm going to get lots of fresh white. So these stand out in front of that yellow. And then if they don't stand out very well, I'll show you what we can do later with some shading. Okay, so lots of white, rounded it out. It is so much easier than with a flat brush. Once you get the hang of it, you got to give it a little bit of practice. Okay, so I'm going to come right in between these petals now. So I'm going to touch, push down, and stand up. And see how those are going to show on top of it. I'm picking up a little bit of yellow, so I got to wipe that off and then get fresh white. Come over here. These are shorter and in between. There we go. More white. In between the petal. So I hope you'll give these a try once you have those round brushes, and they're for more than just scroll strokes. So give them a try. All right, so I'm going to do one more long one that's going to kind of hang over here. And then the front ones are going to be short. But I want to have room to do my center. So what I'm going to do here is just like these, I'm going to touch, not quite so much pressure, touch it down, push, and stand it up. So it's a little bit of a push, but you can see, and you can manage that with this brush. So it's not like you got to switch to a smaller brush unless you really struggle with it. So I'm going to come over here, touch, right, touch, and then push down and stand up. Now I picked up some yellow that time, so I'm going to wipe that off. Come get fresh white. All right, and we have 3 here that are laying over. Well, actually, let me stick one right in here. There. More white. Now we've got 3 that are laying over. Push and stand up. They're very short. This one here, I'm going to push and stand up. Right, and then we're going to overlap a little bit, push, and twisting every time into the middle. Okay, so see how it looks so pretty with all those transparent strokes showing some of that. Now I'm just filling in this area so I can put the stamens in, and then I'll be ready to do the final petals. All right, so I'm going to get my script liner. And I've got some pure orange, so I want a little bit of water in that. Not inky, but just a little bit thin, okay? And you're going to come right in here, steady yourself with your pinky, and you're going to touch and pull down, touch and pull down. So everything is coming to the center. Okay, so overlap, different angles, different heights. Then I came and grabbed just a little bit of the daffodil and did a few of those colors in here. There. Okay, just a few. Then I'll come back to my round brush with my white, and I'm going to come right up in front of some of these, and they're short little petals. Push and stand. Touch, push, and stand. So let me come down a little bit so you can see these a little better. Push and stand. And when you're standing these up, push, you give it a little bit of a twist to the right or the left so that they tuck underneath. So it looks like they're tucked underneath that center. There we go. Okay, so just a few petals coming up in the front, and that's our water lily. Now, I want to let that dry a little bit so I can come back and show you the shading. So I'm going to set this aside, and we will come back after we do our rose, and you can see how we can do some of that shading. Or actually, I can show you right here. Let's just do that. So what you're going to do to shade is, I got some yellow ochre. See how these petals are all shaded? But I'm going to show you how I did that. And for those of you who don't know, I took a 12 flat, and I need a little bit of medium. Let's back up just a hair. And I'm going to put, oops, don't need it all there. Okay, so I'm going to get my 12 flat loaded with medium, and then where did I put my, here's some yellow ochre right here. So I'm just going to side stroke some yellow ochre so that I get a nice crisp edge, and then it blends away into nothing halfway across my brush. See that? So now what I can do is I can come in, let me see, some of these are kind of dry, so I can come in right here. If you've never seen shading before, this is how we do it. So you come from on the flat of the brush, on the outside of the item you're shading, and then stand up. Okay, so that'll help some of those petals to stand out. That's a little dark, but you get the idea, right? You're coming right in next to that side of the petal, and that gives you some dimension. If you're looking at your paintings and they're looking like they're flat or lacking some depth, shading is probably what you need to add. Okay, see how that makes those petals just pop right off of those other ones? But you have to go on the flat of the brush. You can't be up on the chisel. Okay, and then I could come in and around these as well if I wanted to. But it's very important that you wait until your paint is dry. Otherwise you'll start getting muddy and it won't look very pretty. Okay, so that's our lily to go with our daisy. And now I want to share with you how to do this fun rose bouquet. This is all done with flat brushes. This is all done with flat brushes and layering of the petals. And it's a really fun process once you get the hang of it. So I'm going to share this with you. Okay. So these are a couple different colors of roses, all right? This one's got a darker center. This one has a Juneberry center. This one's got a lighter pink center, and that's pink melon, okay? So this is pink melon with linen overlaid. And this is Juneberry with cool bisque overlaid, okay? So let's get started on one of these. I'm just going to show you one because they're about the same. Let me get my flat brush first. So the first thing you want to do is take your dark color. So I'm going to use the Juneberry. All right, and you're going to create a shape, a circle, roughly. And you want enough of this paint on here that it stays wet. Okay, and you don't have to worry about the edges being hard edges or not hard edges, which is nice. Okay, so then I'm going to take my my round brush, excuse me, and I'm going to come get the cool bisque, which is this color right here. And I'm going to load my brush with Cool Bisque. This brush was already damp. Okay, so getting plenty of Cool Bisque on there and then rolling it so I get a nice tip, okay? And so I'm going to start from the inside and do the centers first. So every time I go get paint, I'm going to be picking up more Cool Bisque only, all right? So I want to leave some of that dark showing, and you're going to do short little strokes. So I'm going to touch, drag, push, and stand up. Remember, my paint is still wet. All right, get some more Cool Bisque, and we're going to make kind of a triangle to start. Okay, so then I'm going to come from here, overlap my end stroke, touch, and stand up. And I made a little bit of a curve towards my first stroke when I did that. All right, and then I'm going to attach these together. So I'm going to touch, pull, push, and stand up. So now I've got a center of my rose right there. All right, continuing, I'm going to keep picking up the Cool Bisque, and we're going to come make some wider strokes. So I'm going to come, let's see, we'll come from right here, here, push, and curve it around, stand up. And then from here, push, and curve it around. So you're slightly overlapping. Ooh, that's really blown out. You're slightly overlapping the bottom of the first stroke. Push, stand up. So you see how you're creating the layers? I'm sorry, this black paint paper is glaring. Until I get more on it, it will do that. Okay, so now we're going to start to get a little bigger. We're going to come from the middle of this one, right? Come along, push, and stand up. Every time I'm partially overlapping the previous layer. And notice I'm getting a little wider each time too. These strokes are getting bigger, and you want to kind of give it a twist and tuck it under right there. Touch, push, and stand up. See how it tucks underneath there? Getting to the outside edge, and you can make these as big as you want. Push, stand. All right, now my paint is starting to dry, and I do want some of those pretty Juneberry streaks in there. So what do? I tip into just a little bit of Juneberry on my brush. Come right here, push, and stand up. See, and that'll just give me a little bit of color in that stroke. Okay, so I'm going to come over here, grab some more of that Juneberry on my brush. This is why it's important to use plenty of thick paint, not medium, not thinned out so it dries. All right, push, and stand up. See how it's creating a really pretty looking rose? Just a different look, that's all. I'm not saying this is a more beautiful rose than any other kind of rose, but it's just a different look. Just way to stroke a rose, okay? I'm going to do one more here. There we go. Okay, so we've got a really pretty rose with a dark center. Now, I do want to show you the other one because I want to have two in this bouquet. So I'm going to go ahead, grab my 12. I'm going to get lots of pink melon now, and we're going to make this. See, I'm using lots of paint. Okay. And I'm going to make this a little bigger so that it comes over and touches, or comes close to, not touches, my first rose. So lots of that. I'm going to make sure this is extra thick so that it doesn't dry out too fast. Okay. So on this one, wipe my brush off. We're going to use linen with this one instead. So I'm going to load with linen. You can do white, you could do yellow, whatever you prefer, okay? So again, here's that center, right? So we're going to start with little curved comma strokes. Here, push and lift, and bring the two together into something of a triangle. So I left that little dark center right in there, see? Okay, continuing on with picking up linen, coming from halfway, push, overlap, stand up, halfway, push, stand up, get fresh linen every time, push, and stand up. Every time I stand up, I curve around the end or the side of the previous stroke so that it looks like it's coming from underneath it. Okay, so here, push. And now as I'm getting out wider, I'm pushing a little harder too, okay, so that they get proportionately bigger. Now I'll grab my paper. All right, so just keep picking up the paint. There we go. And it's a good idea to try to make yourself go in different directions so that they don't get a pinwheel look, right? Like if you continue to stroke from left to right every time, eventually your flower will look like it's spinning. Okay, final stroke on this one. I'm going to come from right here, push, and stand up. There we go. See that pretty rose? Okay, now let's look at these leaves. So for those of you who've done skill builders before, these leaves are going to look very similar, right? Very familiar. And then I'm going to take my damp brush and I'm going to load with this. This is fresh cut grass. All right, and occasionally I'm going to pick up some linen. Right, so let me just dip into linen in this case. Actually, let's get my stem in here first. So I'm going to have my stem come this way. And then I can dip into some linen. All right, and we're going to touch, lay the brush down, stand up, and as I lift, I'm pointing towards the tip of that leaf. So I get fresh green, dip into linen. Now if I want, instead of dipping into linen, if I want this other side to be a darker color, then I would do this side first, and then we would do the darker color on the other side. So I'm going to do this one with the light colors and the overlap, and each one stands up pointing towards the tip. All right, so I'm going to get the linen each time, touch at the stem, push, overlap, push. See, that's why you get fresh paint. Or you can roll your brush, which I didn't do. Okay, let me grab just a little bit of linen. There we go, finish off that center. Now, I can come and get the Juneberry to tie my colors, a little bit darker color in with my green on the tip of my brush. And come here and we're going to push and slide and stand up. All right, get more green, a little bit of Juneberry, lay it down, push, and stand up. See how that's creating that side of that leaf in one stroke at a time. All right, so here, push. Every stroke ends by pointing towards the tip of the leaf. There we go. Okay, now if you want, then you can come back in with your stem with the tip of the brush and restroke that stem like that. All right. Then I'm going to come and get the same green. I'm not going to do all the other leaves, you got the idea. But I'm going to get the same green, and I'm going to pick up some more linen. And I'm going to show you can do little one-stroke leaves, little slider leaves coming next to it. So push and twist and stand up. So you don't have to switch your brush. You don't have to pick up new colors or reload. Push and twist. Okay, a little more of that. We're going to come over here. Push and twist. So when I twist to the left, it brings the curve up this way. When I twist to the right, it brings the curve up that way. There. Okay. So let me do one last one here. Once you get the hang of it, you can really kind of motor along. See there? And last one right there. There we go. Little leaf here, little leaf there. Okay, so then let's put one right over here. There we go. Okay. All right, so then what I can do is I can come with my script liner, and I can get like a little bit of Juneberry or whatever I want to use for my stems, and I can pull stems into each of those. I hope that this will inspire you to get those round brushes out that maybe you tucked away because they weren't getting used, and give some of these strokes a try. Gives a little bit different look to your paintings, and I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, so that's our demo with all these round brushes tonight. Let's just kind of pop back here and take a look at what all we got, that palette got used. So we had our lilies and our daisies, and then our roses with leaves. So hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you will give it a try. Thank you.